Hi, my name is Mark Little. I've been a financial advisor since April 28th of 1981. 1981. I've been around the block, and the one thing that I can tell you with almost complete authority is that we are in a completely different business than most financial advisors realize. So, let me go through it with you and see if this makes sense to you. Uh, and even clients think we're in a different business than we're actually in. So, clients and financial advisors all believe that the business that we're in is what we were actually hired to do. So, in my case, I came out of the investment channel of our industry. So, I thought for a long time we were hired by clients as investment managers, and so we managed investments, and that's the business we're in. No, financial planners create financial plans. They think, oh, I'm in the financial planning business. No, estate planners, tax advisors, so forth. People in our industry and even the clients think that it's all about financial products or financial services, and that's the business that a financial advisor in. Here's the problem. I've been working with affluent clients for many, many decades. And the problem is at some point, a client in a long-term relationship will come to you with a terrible idea. They will get nervous. There's some fear-based issue that will drive their emotions, and they will call and ask for an appointment, or they'll call in a panic, and they will proceed to recommend some just really terrible idea. Something that if they take action on this emotion-based idea of theirs, it could and quite often has, in my experience, just completely blown up their financial strategy. And I could give you examples of this. I mean, I've been doing this for more than 4 decades, so I've seen clients call in with all kinds of crazy stuff. But currently, it could be coming to a financial advisor and saying, hey, I know it's not part of the plan, but I'm reading the headlines. There's war breaking out all over the world. I think I'd like to just sell everything and put the cash on the sideline. And then when things settle down, we'll start moving it back in again. Or, the political environment is just so tumultuous right now. If so-and-so gets elected as president, then that's it. I'm out. I'm selling everything. It's just going to get too crazy, and I don't want to be in the financial markets when it happens. So I'd like to move all of it or most of it into a little side account, just sit in cash and wait until the coast is clear. Or it could be just the economy. I've been reading for several years that we're going to have a recession. We're going to have a recession. And I just watched CNBC, I watched the business news channel, and I heard a bunch of experts talking about how earnings have been inching up during this supposed we're going to have a recession, and that can't last forever. Things are so overpriced in the market right now. It's very risky. I just would like to move to cash. So you get the idea. So at that moment, when the client calls in, or at that moment when the client comes in, and you're sitting there talking to them about this brilliant idea that they just woke up at 3 a.m. and had last night, that moment where they've pitched this grotesque idea, and that moment where it's now your turn. It's your turn to talk. They want to know your reaction to what they are just now proposing. That right there. That's the business we're really in. Now, most financial advisors, and I'm not talking about you. You may be laughing right now and saying, "Oh yeah, I've lived that moment many, many times." Well, let me tell you, having dealt with financial advisors, I've been in the business 40 years, but I've been dealing with other financial advisors in this way since 2002. So I've had a lot of experience talking about this topic with many, many high-end let's call them world-class financial advisors. And I will tell you, even at a high level of experience and a high level of skill, most financial advisors are unskilled when it comes to that moment, like what to say in response to something you initially are hearing this and you think it's a joke. No. Most financial advisors are either unskilled, or maybe it's better to say unprepared. Like they haven't really thought through, here's what I'm going to say to, to have a coherent and concise and powerful conversation about this nitwit idea being proposed by a highly affluent, highly successful person who in every other part of their life, they've been successful. So they think they're approaching this from a very rational, very sensible. They think what they're proposing is just the best idea in the world, the most safe and the most obvious idea in the world. When they say these things, that's when you're needed the most. And I'm telling you from experience, most financial advisors choke in that moment. They say stuff, but it's not compelling. And then the client makes one of the worst financial decisions in the world. And then what do? Well, at some point, they're talking with their friends years later, and they're saying, what's your experience with your financial advisor? And they say, well, I haven't done that great. Actually, I've lost money since I've been with them. But they kind of forget that moment where they blew up their own strategy, and whether they do or don't fire their financial advisor is sort of beside the point. The point is they make a decision that is terrible, and it really throws off everything in their financial strategy. And so what am I actually saying here? Well, this is a skill issue. I'm saying to be prepared. Now, I recommend a preemptive approach. As a matter of fact, I've been dealing with this issue for so long that I know a preemptive approach works. Just when you're talking with a client in the early stages of the relationship, and if this moment has never occurred with a client of yours, then now is the time to begin preemptive conversations. I'm talking about just regular routine meetings where you meet with the client. This is where you're prepared in advance to say things that later, when they come to you with this terrible idea, that you have planted seeds in the past of how you're going to respond in a situation like that. So what I do and what I train for advisors in our program is that you develop some investment principles, some fundamental investment principles. And that's what I've done. Years ago, when I first sit down with a brand new client, they say, well, let's do it. Let's start working together. And I go, well, one last thing before we move forward. I have these 3 fundamental investment principles, and I need to discuss them with you. And if these 3 fundamental investment principles sound logical to you, well, then we can move forward. But if these 3 fundamental principles don't sound solid to you, well, then it's probably not going to be a good fit to work together, because everything we do is around these sound principles. And so then you explain what your principles are. Now, we have full training on this, but I'm saying you can do this on your own. You can establish your core. You can say, what really makes an investment portfolio successful? Put yourself in a kind of a flash forward situation. Let's say you work with a client for 20, 30 years. They're at the end of their life. They're looking back over their investment returns, and it's highly successful. What are the fundamental principles that had to be in place for that to be true? So that's what I'm saying. Sit down with a piece of paper, start taking notes as to what you think are the fundamental principles, and then craft a skilled communication around this. That what I'm saying is communication is a skill. And this is the most important part of your craft. You are in the communication business. When the client comes to you with a disastrous idea that's going to ruin their financial strategy, just craft 2 or 3 short conversations so that you can plant these seeds about your fundamental investment principles 2 or 3 times every year. Little short conversations that you can just throw it in there. And when in the course of your routine client progress meetings or phone calls with a client throughout the year, just kind of throw it in, just long as we always remember the 3 fundamental investment principles, everything's going to be okay. Now, this is a preemptive conversation before they start to really hit the panic button and panic and come to you with a terrible idea. So this will do what? This will ensure that your client is not surprised that when they do come to you in that moment with a really horrible idea, that you are in essence reiterating sound principles, not only that you have been saying over and over throughout the years, 2 or 3 times every single year, but it's something that you can recall that they agreed to and agreed in principle to before you even started working together. And that this brilliant idea of theirs to blow up their financial strategy violates one or all of these financial principles. So, and then how do you handle when they come to you in that moment and they are now quiet? They want to know your reaction to this rotten idea. The strategy that I teach, and it really works well, is don't start attacking their idea. Even if what you're doing is recalling conversations you've had with them in the past, preemptive conversations, don't argue. They are in an emotional state. This will not work, this arguing strategy. So this is not the moment to exert your skills as a experienced financial advisor. And you should believe me, because I've been in this business for X number of years. No. It's not the intellectual part of their brain that's working at the moment. It's the fear panic button that's in their head. And the only thing that will work is questions. Say, okay, so explain what you mean. So they come with an idea. They want to move to cash. What do you mean move to cash? And for how long? And what's the process you're recommending to know when the coast is clear and we get back in? Because this sort of a strategy creates additional problems in the future. We've got to get back in and just ask questions. How did you come to this conclusion? When did you come to this conclusion? Do you see now how by asking questions, it's a low emotion situation. You're reducing, in essence, the drama of the whole thing, and it gives them time to calm down. And once they start talking rationally in response to very, very good, well-prepared questions, well, then you can explain that this violates all the fundamental investment principles, or at least one of the fundamental investment principles. And you can say the truth. You can say, look, people have tried to do this over the decades. This is called timing the market, or whatever it is that they're describing to you. And you just say, no investor has been able to do what you're describing consistently over the years. As a matter of fact, the ones who try blow up their investment strategy and always look back on it and regret it. And so, well, that's all I have. So you could sit down and create your fundamental investment principles, begin having these preemptive conversations anytime before the moment they come to you. Because if you wait and start dealing with this conversation skillfully at the moment they are about to jump off the cliff, it'll be too late. You need to, the only way to talk them down off the cliff that I have found is to earn the right by having conversations that they will remember later about, I'm calling them the fundamental investment principles, the thing that works. So you can create your own. I know you can do it, or you can join our program and jump in the river, and we'll share all these client-focused tactics and strategies that have worked so well over the years. But either way, be prepared for that moment. That is the business we're all really in. We're there to protect the client. We're there to help them achieve their financial objectives, and they don't achieve their goals if they blow up their strategy every so few number of years. And it's your job to prevent that from happening if there's any possible way you can do it. And through skilled conversation that's prepared well in advance, you can do that. So that's it. And we wish you every future success with this.